I agree with the 97 psychiatrists who believe that he has a serious personality disorder called malignant narcissism.
I agree.
And I think they're right. And that's the kind of personality disorder that I really believe is dangerous to this country. When you give a man that filled with hatred and vengeance, if you give him the kind of power that he'll have as our president, I mean, God forbid, he's going to lock people up. He's talking about locking up the committee that investigated January 6th, and he's going to lock up people like you. And it just terrifies me to think that we have a man coming into office in January with that kind of disorder. He may not be demented, but he does have that disorder. And he's going to do great damage. And I heard you say, at least I thought I heard you say, this is my question, that Biden has the authority to implement the Insurrection Act.
Yes.
And prevent him from becoming president. Now, is that possible? And I'll take your answer off the air.
It would be possible, but it would involve changing our form of government, and Biden's not going to do that. Biden is an institutionalist. Biden believes in America and believes in American institutions, and so he's not going to upend our country by, preventing Trump from becoming president. Trump will be president, assuming he lives until January 20th, and I see no reason not to assume that. He seems to be in pretty good health. So, we're just going to have to make the best of it. My sense of it is that, on the one hand, he's going to lie his way through this and, make himself popular in some ways, and he may actually, some good things may come out of this. Bob Kennedy is talking about going after ultra-processed foods and the obesity epidemic in America, for example. But, I think that many of the policies he's talking about are really going to rip this country apart. And it's early days. It's way too early to tell. I mean, we'll know by the end of January. But I'm of the opinion that he's going to lose the House and probably the Senate, possibly the Senate, probably the Senate, in 2026. And then basically be a lame duck for the last 2 years. And that, the next president in 2028 will be a Democrat. We'll be able to put America back together because, I think the pressure has been to change the system. And this was basically for the last, since the end of the Bush administration, we have been looking at change elections. Americans have been wanting change. They have been wanting, they get it. Neoliberalism has not been working. We had 40 years of it, when George Bush was in office. And Americans figured out we're getting screwed by Reaganism. We're getting screwed by a massive income inequality. We're getting screwed by the billionaires taking all of our money. We're getting screwed by giant corporate monopolies. We're getting screwed by, 5 companies controlling 80 or 90% of our food market, by 4 airlines controlling the air market, by a handful of companies controlling our internet access and our telephone services, by a handful of giant companies controlling our pharmaceuticals, by a handful of companies controlling our health insurance industries. You name it. I wrote an entire book about this, The Hidden History of American Monopoly. And Americans have figured this out, and they keep voting for what they think is going to be change. In 2016, they thought Donald Trump was going to bring change, and that Hillary Clinton was the defender of the status quo. And by and large, she was, by the way. And so they voted for change, but it wasn't the kind of change that they wanted. In 2020, they said, okay, we want change, the American people. Trump screwed up the economy. He screwed up the dealing with the pandemic. 500,000 Americans died unnecessarily. We voted him out. We voted Joe Biden in. Joe Biden actually brought us the change that we've been wanting, but he and the Democratic Party were so friggin' incompetent at communicating it I mean, Donald Trump was on TV for 45 minutes this morning. Joe Biden should have been doing that every single day for the last 4 years. And he utterly failed at doing that. He turned our economy around. He turned COVID around. He put America back on the right track. He was the first president to walk a picket line. He did all the right things, but he did not communicate them because he believed that, well, the New York Times, that's their job. ABC, NBC, CBS, that's their job. No, they don't think that's their job anymore. They think that their job is to chase, advertising revenue. Period, full stop. And so the New York Times is going to put up the most clickbaity headlines they can, and the news networks are going to carry whoever, performs best on television, and that turns out to be Donald Trump. I'm telling you, if Joe Biden had simply communicated, if Jamie Harrison had simply communicated, Schumer, who just got reelected as the head of the Democrats in the Senate, God save us. If Chuck Schumer had simply communicated, Chuck Schumer needs to take a Dale Carnegie course and learn how to give a speech without reading it with his cheaters hanging half off his nose. I mean, we've got a gerontocracy running the Democratic Party right now. If the Democrats had simply communicated what they were doing, Donald Trump would not be our incoming president. If Kamala Harris had simply embraced change in a big way, because keep in mind, more than half of Americans thought we were in a recession when they went to the polls, including a lot of Democrats. If she had, okay, enough of my rant. You've heard this before. 45 minutes past the hour. I'll pick up your calls on the other side of the break. Stay with us.